for key leadership roles. Through our international partnership with Spindler Fox, we provide a global access to our Indian clients, planning for clients who are seeking talent across Asia, Europe, and Americas. Our past speakers include Vikram Bector, CHR of Piramal Group, Ms. Meher Padamji, Chairperson of Thermax, Mahesh Palashikar, President and CEO of GE India, Shishir Joshipura, MD and CEO of Praj, and Dr. Santrup Misra, CEO Carbon Black Business of Aditya Birla Group. Our topic of discussion for the day is making UPL Global Key Leadership Learnings. We have budgeted 60 minutes for today's webinar. And in case you have any questions for our guest, kindly post them in the Q&A box, but do keep them brief. Allow me to quickly introduce Jai. Jai, while we have known each other for now, I don't know, 45 years or more, I don't know. I always knew you as Jai. I never knew it was Jai Dev. So that's a learning for me. Jai is the global CEO of UPL, erstwhile United Phosphorus Limited. He is a well-recognized global leader in the chemicals and agri-inputs industry with over 3 decades of experience in India and internationally. Jai has driven the transformation of UPL from a largely domestic player to a truly Indian multinational organization. UPL has a global workforce comprising of more than 75 nationalities, with manufacturing facilities in 48 locations worldwide. UPL also holds around 12,000 product registrations and more than 1,000 patents globally. This illustrates the extent of company's focus on innovation across a diverse product portfolio. Jai believes passionately in the power of collaboration and intersectorial partnerships. He is actively involved in global development agenda, including the World Economic Forum's Grow Africa and Grow Asia initiatives, IFPRI's Sustainable Agriculture and Global Food Security Initiative, WSSD, Chicago Council, IGD, and ICAR. Jai is a regular invited speaker to many international forums on subjects which cover sustainability, food security, climate resilience, and technological innovations. Welcome, Jai, and I must thank you. I know you had a very hectic day today. While we speak, you are away from your office and home, and I'm glad that you could take this time out to meet all of us. Welcome once again.
Thank you. Thanks.
So, I think I have been in the search profession now over 3 decades, equal number of years that you've been in the corporate side. But amongst various Indian companies, UPL truly is a global multinational. And I think that makes all of us, all Indians, very proud. But I think, I'm sure the journey has not been easy. While it's easy to sign a check, merge balance sheets, gain market share, but the people aspect very often, I would say, does not take a highlight, and that is what I would say our audience would want to know from you. So I have a few set of questions, and these are more, I would say, sharing your own learnings as to. Let me start with the first one. When you joined UPL 3 decades ago, it was a leading domestic player, and today you are a global international company. Could you, in your own words, share this journey, and what were the specific leadership challenges that you faced?
Thanks, Nirmit. Really happy to be here and talk to your participants today. So, just to say, where is UPL today? And it's not easy to understand UPL. It is complex organization, but if we look at the highlights, today we are the fifth largest player in our industry worldwide. We are the largest player in Africa in our industry. We are Central America, South America, India, obviously. We are by far the largest player, and we are present in so many value chains. So, for example, little known is that we are India's largest seed company. Not only that, we're the largest seed company in Australia. There is, in some of the Central American countries, not a single retailer will be able to do business unless he has Advanta seeds in his portfolio. So we have reached some very exciting levels. Almost every McDonald's chip you eat is treated with our technology. Everywhere Pepsi sets up a potato processing plant for their Lay's brands, we go in and supply some technology. Almost 60% of the food grain, particularly wheat and corn, gets stored, is treated with UPL products. And I can go on where we are deeply penetrated in the food system now. And we are actually, a lot of our dialogues are with food companies on how to make food safer, how to make food more sustainable, how to make farmers more resilient. And so we've transformed from being a product company to really a company which has evolved into providing solutions for the food sector. And this is a transformation which is going on now because of the needs of just the food system. I mean, the journey, UPL started as a B2B chemical company. We started also making agrochemicals. We started to understand the value chain. And in the mid-80s, when I started slightly getting involved, we were nowhere the largest player in India. We were probably the smallest player in India with revenues of about 20 crores or so. And so the transformation, and this is where the people issue comes in. How do you take a leadership role when you have a very small business? And we kept looking at how to transform the business, and from being a B2B company to going to a B2C kind of company, from B2C become a B2C branded company. So we've had 4 or 5 major transformations as a company through the journey of the last 35 years, and really understanding where the value is, and then building it out. And we made about 50 acquisitions on the way, integrating them into our culture and bringing different cultures of people from different parts of the world into understanding the value chain, understanding the values of the company, and taking it further and building into the next level. So every 7-8 years, we actually reinvent ourselves. And it's very exciting to take people along, to see the vision, to experience. Obviously, in any organization, there are different types of people. Some people who are extremely positive and excited about new ideas. Some people are extremely conservative and don't believe most transitions will go through. And so how do you build pilots, and then build around that, and then build the confidence and identify the champions within an organization who believe in it enough to make it successful? Because the difference between success and failure of a project is so thin, right? It is all about the energy of the people and commitment, because every initiative has lots of downsides, more downsides than upsides. And to get the right team and to get the right people who understand the idea and the purpose of that transformation is critical. And then you support them endlessly and to make them succeed. So that's really been journey. And we have so many fantastic stories about some of the challenges which we overcame or were able to succeed and was almost thought impossible. I can talk about it, or we can touch on that later.
No, there are a few questions that we'll address there. Could you describe your experience and, more importantly, your learnings in managing a diverse global workforce? Because I think from a people HR perspective, I think and most of us as Indian managers are used to and comfortable to have people working in our proximity, and suddenly you have your managers in different geography, and it is very diverse. Could you share your own learnings and experience in managing this workforce?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, and I think it's a lot of mindset, and it's about in UPL, it's about the mission, right? And when you, as we've acquired 50 companies around the world, we've inherited a lot of talent. We've inherited a lot of management, and you look at the management. So, for example, in Brazil, I think we have no Indians there. It's our biggest market. We've grown that business 15x in last 10 years, and we have no Indians there. We build it based on our mission and really understanding your team, understanding the culture. It's more about understanding the culture. It's more about understanding what motivates them, what are the sensitive things about that culture, how you deal with a French organization and how do you deal with a Brazilian organization or American organization, completely different. And being sensitive to that, but actually when you are so focused on your goal and you are so focused on your subject, and you are so focused on making sure there is such a lot of risk riding on failure that you just can't afford to fail. And at those times, it becomes intuitive for a manager. Mostly it becomes intuitive to who are the right leaders, who are the people who are the negative energy in the group, who are the ones who are positive. How do you drive change when somebody is personal goals don't fit with the company goals? And all these things come actually intuitively. At UPL, we have a very tight control on finance, but on business, we have a complete open approach, and we love to experiment. We love to give freedom to operate. We drive people who are willing to. We allow people to take risks because we operate in 130 countries, and there are certain controls we have to be very, very tight. So all financial functions are completely centralized. There is no banking relationship at the country level. It's all centralized, and it is managed there. But it is identifying the right people, and it's not about saying that I need an Indian financial controller in Brazil. It's do you have the right controller? Does he understand the objectives? And how do you bring him on board? How do you do positive affirmations? How do you encourage? I won't say reward, because at UPL we really do reward people well, but that's not what motivates people. It's not about financial reward. It's not only about finance. It's just about the need to succeed. It's the need to win. And these are things which are much more important. And you can see when you have small successes, how the teams get energized and are able to grow and do something much more exciting with their business.
I can see you full of energy and passion the last 5-10 minutes, the way you spoke. Is there a way how do you communicate, or how do you kind of pass on this so-called infection, if I were to say, down the line and across the world? Is there a formal communication that you do or your other directors do, just to ensure that everyone is on the same page?
So there was a time where in one evening, when you build a business brick by brick, you know it very well, right? You know that by the email or by the sound of the voice of your team member at the other end, whether he's going through some pains or not. And I think it's a lot about empathy, and understanding that, and helping people motivates them a lot. It's being there, to really encourage them, and being there to take the bad news, and be there to help them when they have the bad news. You can imagine, we are in the agriculture business. Every year there's a failure of monsoon or rain, or there's a drought, or there's a commodity price collapse, or there's something or the other is happening. You can be rest assured, bad news is always there. And in that environment, you can imagine making sure that you are there. So coming back to that, as when we were a small company, it was very easy. I could sit one evening and make calls to all the relevant managers and get a pulse of the business. Today, we are very, very professionally organized. There is amazing communication platforms. There's learning platforms within the company. There is so many things which we do, internal communication about the good things and the bad things happening. And I think there is a lot of excitement in the company about the future vision and where we are going and how we are going to transform the industry. So I think having a big vision and having some audacious goals and having a roadmap to win is, I think, the key motivator. When you have that, then you can really drive your people, and it's not about culture. It's about the goals.
The next question is, how does one drive corporate level expectations at the local level in your context, which is again a workforce which is very diverse and culturally distinct? How do you drive the larger mission, which let's say you take at headquarters?
So while we are a very centralized company, the team at the country level, so we are divided up in regions, but the country has its own objectives. And obviously, we have high growth markets, high growth regions, and high growth crops, and high growth just opportunities, right? So you had the big locust issue. We deployed a lot of teams and technology to fight the locust issue, and it was not only in India; it was all across Africa, the Horn of Africa, etc. So I think the how do you really set corporate objectives at the regional levels, and how do you marry that? It is in a global company like ours, it is not easy, and it's not always what you want, but we've been able to do it. As a company, we've been the fastest growing company in our industry for the last 10, 15 years. And we've been able to do it by really being understanding the sensitivities of what drives business, right? So what is the expectations of not only our team, but what is the expectations of market? How do you anticipate the changes happening in the market, and how do you really create a supporting environment? So if you are there to support your team when in the difficult times, they will take much more aggressive challenges. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it is, yeah.
Have you encountered challenges in managing tensions between headquarters and local management in other geographies, especially with regards to customs, regulations, practices, or market-related decisions? And has there been occasions where there has been a trust deficit between headquarters and your local operations?
Oh, there has to be, right? There has to be, otherwise you're not a business. You're maybe an NGO. You have to have a certain amount of tension. There has to be stretch goals. There has to be audacious goals. There has to be things like that. I wouldn't say, obviously there are the finance teams, the audit teams. Their job is to be a little more suspicious, a little more sort of I would say pessimistic about some ridiculous goals, or some region putting up huge inventory targets and actually failing, and then to figure out whether the circumstances in the market, right? And I always believe the head office is a support function, and the real war is in the field. So I make sure that everybody understands that, right? The finance function, the supply chain function, all these are support functions, and they are based in head office, but they are just a supporting function. Without the soldiers on the ground in the war zone, you cannot have a business. So we keep while there is tension, and you have to do it. In the end, push comes to shove, they need support. Obviously, as we grow, financial control is critical, and there's zero compromise on that. There's zero compromise on ethics and trust. I mean, or what's the right word? But just on ethical standards, and there's zero tolerance towards that. And as you get bigger, it needs to be more and more, and people catch on very fast. But I mean, everywhere that happens, and you have to deal with it appropriately.
In this journey, can you share with us any very tough people decisions you had to take, which was not easy for you? And again, keeping in mind the larger global context.
So you can imagine, right? I joined the business straight from college, inherited, really didn't inherit anything. I was just asked to do something in the office, and I decided to do what I wanted to do. And there was a lot of senior people, and it was a challenge, but for me, the goals were so simple, the focus was so simple, that if and I saw the vision so clearly, that if somebody didn't align, I would try very hard to convince them, and then just either ignore them because they were there in the company for a long time before me, and just do my thing, or if they were really causing disruptions.
Jay, we have lost you.
Growth of the company.
You got a bad connection.
More.
Jay, we're losing you.
Hear me?
No, not yet.
Now it is better?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you now. Yeah. We lost the last 30 seconds.
So I think you have always people at some point in their age getting insecure and will block talent growth, and that is, I believe, the single biggest decision for a high growth company, is that how do you manage talent and in an environment where the senior people who've been with you a long time start getting insecure because they suddenly see a retirement coming. And for us also it's the same. We have to deal with it in a very positive way. Being a family business, we have to be the family culture of looking after people who worked with you for a long time. How do you create replacements for them? How do you create some kind of slow transition into that? That is something which we always struggle with. How do you transition people from that? And when do you start discussing with them that, listen, you're now 2-3 years from retirement, you're a great guy, we want you to develop something, and whatever you say, whatever you do, you find that people get insecure, and that causes a lot of problems. So managing that is a big challenge, and it's constantly something which I worry about and deal with, because there is a lot of affection when you work with people for 20-30 years. How do you sort of transition them? It is a big challenge, and it's the single biggest challenge in any company, but more so in family businesses.
The next time you have a challenge like that, give me a call. I'll tell you why. I briefly mentioned that we have a practice of interim management. Now, what we do there, I think invariably companies are looking for a very specific skill to solve a short-term problem. And that is where similar individuals who are recently retired come in a mission mode to solve the issue. So I think over the recent years, we have found many such I would say, cases where the company doesn't need a full-time person. But I think having said that, the vast knowledge and the experience the person brings is invaluable. And they can be very well used
Absolutely.
in a small to medium-sized companies. Good. I run a very small organization, a boutique organization, and I still find communicating with my team. And especially, there are now two generations, if I were to say. And I don't know which generation I should classify myself, but I find that as the biggest challenge. In your context, with a team, again, I come back to the same thing, which is so diverse. I think, as you said, an American culture is very different than a South American culture to a European culture. Is there any specific learnings? How do you have a communication department specialist who take care? Just some anecdotes if you'd like to share here.
Yeah. So we had to close our one of our head offices. One of the acquisitions we made in the mid 2000s. That company had 2 head offices, and I had to go and tell all the team there. It was in France, one of the head office. I had to tell the team there that no, there's only 1 head office, and there's no 2 offices. This head office is in India, and you can imagine the pride and the headache and the discussions, right? The French culture is very unique. They have I actually found it to be quite easy to work in France. We have 7 factories there, and as long as you understand that and you do not expect it to be an American type of hire and fire situation or an Indian type of an environment, you can survive fine and get results. Probably productivity as high as anywhere else. So putting that caveat, we had to discuss, and every time I went for a meeting to talk about this, they would somehow just not discuss it, and it just fob it off. And it was new for me, and we were trying to understand the culture. But so I said, fine, I would go for a meeting. So I decided every Monday morning I'm going to be in that office in Paris, and discuss the same thing and wait. And they'll say, oh no, we have to still discuss internally and come back to you how we're going to restructure it, what we're going to do, what functions we're going to rotate. And I did that for about 4 to 5 weeks. Every Monday morning I was there, and they really thought this Indian guy is crazy and he's not going to leave us, because normally they're used to somebody coming thing and say, oh, now he's gone for 2-3 months, I'll discuss it. I figured out that this is the strategy. In large corporates that happens, right? How many times can a CEO come and discuss the same thing? But this was a critical cost synergy for us, and it was something which we had to do. And eventually 5 weeks later, they just said, okay, this is how we'll do it. Boom. If we had not done it like that and understood, and I'd been much more harsh on them or harsh on myself in terms of disappointment, it would have probably never happened, right? If I had let go. But understanding the culture and saying that, like, we're going to have this discussion all day and really not conclude anything, right? It's a very un-Indian culture or un-American culture, or when you are short of time in a hurry. So how do you really balance that, right? Understanding the culture. How do you discuss? And they said, "Oh, I'm being very fair. I'm giving them every Monday. I was giving them another week for another Monday, and eventually they conceded and they said, okay." So I didn't allow it to become an issue where I did not give them the time. I didn't allow that. So these things in union analysis, in France you have a union for everything, and you have to follow certain protocol. You have to understand the culture. You have to go for lunch with them. You have to have this 2-hour lunch and discuss, and maybe not discuss, and take that. So many such examples of how do we transition, understanding the culture of people. Americans are completely different. They want to be straight out. Am I fired? Not fired? Boom. Okay. If I'm fired, what do I get? Finish. Right. In many cultures, you can't do that. In Indian culture, you can't do that. But having that sensitive to within UPL, it's intuitive, right? Within the leadership management, it is intuitive. We understand. We will make a small joke about how we need to get something done in Brazil vis-a-vis America vis-a-vis Japan. It's just understanding that and playing to those sensitivities, because in the end, if you have a good understanding of sensitivity, the results will be faster.
Yeah, I agree with that. What is the characteristic traits that you see in your people that you hire, or the leaders that come with acquisition, which gives you that comfort that they can do that job? What are those few things?
So I mean, of course, it's the number one is really sharing your vision, understanding the challenges of the market, agreeing a roadmap, and when you're and seeing the responsiveness. Over the years, I've become a lot more patient to understand that there are other ways to skin the cat, so to say, and being a little more patient to trying other means. But usually you can sort of sense somebody who believes in the dream of the company, the vision of the company, and somebody who doesn't. And working within UPL, people understand. They compensate for different for my weaknesses, their strengths or their weaknesses, and we build an ecosystem around to sort of make sure that the whole system, that the company continues to grow. To specifically answer your question, for me, my process of interaction is very intuitive. I don't have such. I'd like to see what sparks the imagination of the person, what gets him, what's getting him most excited about his new assignment, and then I actually subconsciously decide that he's the right guy or not the right guy. I don't go through the very long interviewing process. I will have a very casual discussion on challenges being faced by me or by the country or by some other company, and how we would deal with it, but in a very real situation, not in a hypothetical situation. And then you really understand what makes the person click, and that gives you the understanding of what gets them most excited about their job.
I think your video is frozen. Okay, Jay. The Jay which I have known was a very hands-on manager, and every entrepreneur is, I would say, tends to be impatient. Uh, have you changed? How is your leadership style? Has it undergone any change? Would you like to share?
Oh yeah, of course. It's difficult for me to really talk about that, but people give me feedback that I've changed. I've become less impatient. I think that the organization has its momentum, which gives me a lot of satisfaction. I've also was in a big hurry not to miss the boat, and I was very impatient through the 90s and even through the 2000s. And when we were having really the dilemma of how are we going to, how do you really, what are the systems we need to operate to be successful global player, right? There was a time we bought 4 companies in a period of 18 months, and how do you integrate them? And obviously, that causes certain amount of stress within the leadership team, but also transitioning from people who did not believe them, and as they sort of move out and you get homegrown talent who've seen the success, makes a big difference, makes a huge difference. And people who, when we go in and acquire a company and they've seen the success, they've seen us operate in that market, they've seen that, they become believers, and then it's much easier. And then you can always, obviously, everybody doesn't deliver to your expectations, but you can sort of then say, okay, I'm okay because 60% of my team is delivering and is firing. And then you also learn different different aspects of human behavior, which also helps the organization in such a way. So you learn from all those things, and it sort of lets you get the confidence and gives you a little more patience or less impatience.
Sure. This is a slightly a futuristic question, and you can decide to reply or not reply. I think if I were to, this is a thought that came to mind. I think your father, Raju Bhai, is a legend, and he was lucky, he and your mother, to have you and Vikram, who joined the business at the right time and brought it to the stage where you are. Going forward, do you see a family member at the helm of affairs, or it could be a professional manager from a different part of the world as the helm of affairs? We've already seen that with many other groups. I was just reading that Tata Motors, I think, is the third CEO and MD in succession who is not an Indian and not a homegrown Tata manager. What do you see the future? Is that something that the family is thinking, or it's too early to be even thinking in that direction?
No, I think succession planning, training is a constant process, because you can imagine UPL doubles its size every 4 to 5 years, and that doesn't happen without talent development and understanding that. So we have a chief operating officer. We have 3 chief operating officers who can easily do my job, right? And in fact, they do most of what I should be doing, because I do other things in the organization, or really living in the next 5 years ahead. And I think I, maybe one Indian out of the 3. So it's a completely, for us, we have people from different parts of the world who I treat as family, and they are professionals, but they get so involved in the business and understanding, and we work really like a family. So I don't even think about it like that, to be honest. I just want to make sure that we have enough talent to and give them enough excitement that that discussion about it's not about what I'm doing. It's about the challenge in the job. And most of the talent which we have, I believe we are able to retain because of the excitement of what we are going to become in the future, and that's happened throughout the journey at UPL.
Which I can also confirm as a headhunter. My team has often tried to poach one of your employees, but the stickiness to continue with UPL is very high, and I think that is commendable, something that all of you are doing. So that's one. Here I'll pick up a question which has
And
come.
let me just tell you, and it's not about the money.
I'm
It's not
sure.
at all about the money.
I agree. I would agree. There is something beyond that, and I think you also had people who have left you and also rejoined back. I think you have many examples of that, if I'm correct.
Sure.
I'll pick up a question which is come from Mr. Harshad Nayak, who until recently was the managing director of Huntsman in India. And his question is saying that what are the key challenges in integrating a large global company? He has specifically made a reference to Arista into UPL. And what were the initiatives to address the challenge?
I think, we first of all were very, very sensitive to integration because we were in a hurry. We saw a huge opportunity, right? We bought a company which had about $400 million of EBITDA. We had synergies of minimum $400 million going higher. So it was so exciting, and anybody who was there in the leadership team could see that. Obviously, giving clear-cut decisions and having a very clear opinion, because a lot of when you are integrating two large companies, it's very important to have a leader. It's very important to have making sure that the acquired company doesn't feel violated, which is very often the case. And we had great advisors. We had the best of the best advisors from our consultants, McKinsey, and they were constantly sensitizing us towards about and it's very easy in far off locations in a global environment to become to one negative guy start saying, oh, this is not fair. And when you are choosing jobs and you lose some of your best talent, you lose some of the best talent from the other side. And how do you do that? And how you minimize that negative gossip that, oh, we are being acquired? And we actually never used the word acquired. We immediately called the company New UPL. We didn't want to keep UPL as a name, so we called it New UPL. Eventually, we went back to UPL, but for that period of time, we said, okay, we'll debate whether we should have a new name. We'll involve all the people, but all these decisions are happening parallelly. And giving clear decisions and not keeping too much. Like I know in some of the other integrations in our industry, they took three years to announce an organization. Our leadership team was announced even before we paid for the company, right? We were going through due diligence. When we were ready to sign, we announced the leadership team. Within 60 days, we announced the regional leadership team. And I think we announced the acquisition we paid for the company in February. This is February now, so about 2 years ago. By May, we had announced all the country leadership, and everything was announced, and ambiguity was gone. And whoever we needed to take care of, there was clearly defined position. Because I feel that when you take a long time, the negativity sets in. So you need to be very fast in decision making. You need to be prepared. You need to have enough bandwidth. We created a whole working team in London because it was the best location. We are a huge business in South America. We have a huge business in India and Asia, and so we created an office where everybody had two jobs. The integration team of about, I think, 40 people sat together 10 days every month, worked on a very systematic way and all the decisions, we were all sitting there, and when there was a doubt, we gave decisions in the same day. No delaying decisions on things unless we did not have have a data point. So I think giving clear, people do not mind bad news, but they want to know, and I think these are important things which we do, and identifying the people who are feeling left out, and making sure that immediately that bad apple, or that infection, negative energy doesn't flow across, and how do you address that? So we had lots of town halls, discussions, and people ask very difficult questions, because unlike UPL, which was a family company, this was an integrated company of 3 companies with Japanese roots, and American roots and European roots. It was something where people did ask difficult questions, and we had to be very, very transparent and honest and sincere about what we said, and that makes a big, big difference. And so I would say that by December, people forgot that it was an integration year, and that there were 2 companies. And I think people in UPL today, 2 years down the line, they've forgotten that this is a merged entity. At least that's how I feel about it. I need to get an update from HR on that.
Very well.
But we do a lot of surveys. We do a lot of and a lot of opinions, and we have secret kind of updates, and we react very fast on regions where there is anything negative. I mean, that's all over. You need to, when people give you feedback, you need to respond. You cannot not respond. That is the worst thing you can do. Once you're settled down, now I can delay a response. But at that point, we had to reply the same day. And those things are very, very important. People feel respected, and that's most important, even if they are going to lose their job.
Sure. Thanks. Is scale and global reach an indicator of success? And would you say it is important for organizations to go internationally or globally?
So at UPL, we decided early on that we would specialize in a sector, right? And today the Indian AgChem market where we operate, AgChem seed market, is probably about 35,000 crores. UPL is a 40,000 crore company. So we are almost bigger than the entire Indian market. If you look at the top 10 companies, we make more money than the revenues of the top 10 Indian companies in India. We could have never achieved that if we were just focused on India. We would have to diversify to meet our own ambitions, right? So we realized very quickly on that we need to globalize, and we need to be present if we need to be there. So we decided what are the core competencies we have, how do we focus on it, how do we not lose those core competencies to be a global player, and that's how we built up an expertise in a particular subject rather than diversify, right? Other large companies in India, they say we are an Indian company, so we will do X, Y, Z, all kinds of businesses in India, because they believe they understand India market well, and they will design their organization to manage the environment in India and build a business. We decided on a different approach. So we want to be a leader in crop protection, in the food business, business. Now we are focusing on sustainability and farmer resilience. And we believe that we are by far the world's largest player with a platform of sustainable technologies to really transform agriculture and the food system. So with that kind of objective, it's no use being local, right? I would not make an impact, because if UPL is to make an impact with our technology platform, we need to be able to reach farmers in every part of the world.
I'm conscious of the time. One last formal question, and followed by which I have a few informal personal questions to ask you. The formal part is, what would be your advice to CEOs and business leaders present today who are embarking on global expansions?
You should forget. You have to, if you're really going to go global, you need to make sure you're comfortable sleeping on planes. And you need to be there for your team when they need you. You need to be there. You cannot say, I'm going to have a cozy life and come home for dinner every day. That doesn't work. So if you are willing to make that sacrifice, you should. If you're not, do not, because it doesn't happen for free. Globalization, I spend at least 100 nights a year on the plane and between flights. So it's not easy, and it's not free. You have to sacrifice.
I need to go back home and tell my wife. She doesn't even allow me one night out. So, so good. So
it's not a night out. It's not a night out. It's not a night out. It is that jet lag.
I know. In fact,
the next morning and the night flight. Most of my travel agents, when I used to fly commercial, would be scared to argue, because I knew all the flight schedules out of every city in the world, more or less. I knew what time the flight from Sao Paulo to New York would go, or Sao Paulo to London, or Sao Paulo to Argentina. I just had this habit of memorizing when I was flying, I would try to memorize the flight schedules out of each airport as I was walking through. So next time if I need to go here, I know this is a convenient flight, because what I'd never like to do was do day flights, because I thought it was a complete waste of time. Those days there was not much connectivity on planes, so they would be very nervous to recommend a flight which they're not thought through.
So how do you manage jet lag after all the kind of travel you do across time zones? It sounds scary to me. Is there something that you learn to unwind?
So you never let jet lag catch up with you. You just move before it catches you. No, when you have a serious objective, right? If you have a target, I think these things don't matter. If you have nothing to do when you arrive back from US to Bombay, and then you'll say, oh my God, I got jet lag. But if you have to be in the office next day at 9 o'clock for a meeting, jet lag's gone out of the window. You're there. And you may be a little sleepy once in a while and may need to just take a couple of extra cups of coffee during the meeting. But and you're over it the next day. And you have to. It's also very useful to have a global business, because when you're awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know that Mexico is fully.
Sorry, Jay, we lost you again.
Fully operating, but I have full network here.
Yeah. So do you expect the same level of energy from your managers?
Yes.
Do you expect?
Yes, I actually I expect. I don't expect. I lead by example, and I think actually I get disappointed, but I don't expect. I do not expect people to do the same as I do, and if I find that somebody is not delivering, I blame myself. That I couldn't motivate that guy to do that extra bit. There's something I've done wrong. So it's not an easy position to be in. It's quite punishing, where you blame yourself for somebody else not being able to do his job with as much enthusiasm.
Very well said, and I think a lot of us hearing today will have lots to go back and reflect upon our own leadership skills. What are the languages you speak, Jay? You have Do you, other than the native languages, have you picked up any international languages?
I don't stay in any country long enough to pick up a language. So I tried to learn Japanese because we were working with a company which we wanted desperately to have some ownership in. So I said, let me impress these guys. And within 2 lessons, the guy agreed to sell us a share of his company. So I gave up. I said, oh, I don't need to do that anymore. I tried a little bit, but never had the absolute need. While I would have enjoyed learning Spanish or Portuguese because of the time spent in Latin America and Brazil and Europe, but never had the nor do I have the skills. I'm not intuitively language whatever that doesn't come naturally to me.
The last question is, could you share if you have any hobbies beyond work?
Yeah, I like first of all, I really enjoy my work, and I do I always have some crazy projects I'm working on, not necessarily work related. I could be, I don't even know if I can say that, but I could be designing. I'm currently designing a boat which uses 90% less energy. It's just a hobby. I'm actually designing in the Indian Ocean a theme on a holiday destination. But these projects will never happen. I just enjoy planning it, designing it, and I do fun things which are quite exciting for me, at least, and that keeps me sort of sane.
Very good, Jay. No, Jay, I think it's been a immense pleasure having you today. I think, while, as I said, I've known you for over 50 years. We have been school friends, but this part of Jay, I think, is an eye opener for me. And I think there are a lot of takeaways for all of us. And I thank you once again profoundly for your time today and look forward to interacting with you once again very soon.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Pleasure.
All the best. Take care, Jay. Bye.